Hi there, my name is Max, and today I'll be reviewing the Olympus XA2 point-and-shoot camera, taking you around town for some shots, and then hopefully helping you make a better decision when it comes to whether or not you should pick one of these up. But before we get into it, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to anyone who's tuned into my videos, who's left a comment, who's liked, who has just been there as part of this community. I'm out here trying to teach, trying to educate, but I'm also on the receiving end, so in the comments it's a perfect way for you to share your thoughts, your opinions, your preferences too. I'm still learning, you're still learning, so let's learn together. Anyways, all that to say is thank you very much for tuning in. Alright, so let's dive into the history lesson. The Olympus XA2 was first released in 1980. It does feature a f3.5 Zuiko lens, which is phenomenally sharp. It also features a zone focus system, which you can find on the front of the camera. You have 3 different zones to choose from: landscape or infinity focus range. You have a midpoint, and then also a close-up or more of a portrait style. One of the most unique characteristics of this camera is the clamshell design to both power on and off the camera and to protect the lens. Going back to zone focusing quickly, when you do select your zone and you close the lens, it actually resets to the middle one. So in case you're out in the field, wondering what's happening, it actually just resets each time. Moving on to the bottom of the camera, you'll find your battery check and your self-timer mode, which is great if ever you're doing self-portraits or you just want to do a long exposure and avoid any vibrations when hitting the shutter. Just under the lens, there's also an ASA or ISO setting, so you can select as low as 25 ISO, ranging to 800 depending on the speed of your film. And just below that, there's a switch for the external flashes, which you can get and equip to the side of your camera. And although I don't have one currently, I have used it in the past, and it works extremely well to get those kind of candid party or indoor shots that a lot of people are craving nowadays. So if you're looking at getting those disposable kind of party shots, and I really recommend picking up a flash. It is a lot cheaper to pick up at the same time. So if you pick up an XA2 and it's included, it's a lot cheaper than if you were to buy it separate later. The shutter is on top of the camera, it's bright and red, and let me tell you that this thing is extremely sensitive. So at all times, if it's loaded, close the clamshell when you're walking around because it'll fire off at the lightest touch. Even having shot extensively in the past with these cameras, I have hit the trigger multiple times on this video. And it's a lot better to place your index over the shutter release itself, just to ground your finger, because who knows, if you keep it in the air like a lot of different cameras and just set it down, you might actually accidentally trigger it. Alright, that's enough history, that's enough specs. Let's load up a roll of Kodak Gold 200 film and hit the streets of Revelstoke, see what we can get. Alright, so on the left side, pop this little lever open and pull upward. We'll pop the back open. Toss in your roll of film here with the film out. And make sure to pull that little film tab into the spool, just so that it's showing on the other side. Slap it closed. Give it a few winds. And the clamshell has to be open for it to actually fire here. Bring it to frame 1 and you're good to go. One of the most beautiful parts about living in Revelstoke is that sometimes you just get these random pockets of beautiful sunlight, even on the most overcast of days. And that's what happened with this video. I looked outside on an overcast day, an hour later, and I saw these huge rays of light coming across, and instantly knew I had to pick up the XA, load it, and hit the road. So all of these shots were actually just shot within an hour time frame. As someone who is a lot more selective with my work, it is actually good practice to go and try and shoot a little more volume for once and let the creative kind of instincts kick in and just roll with what you see. I highly recommend trying that out. Maybe you're someone who shoots too much. You might want to try shooting a little bit less on your next photo walk, but if you're like me and I'm very particular, why not just go out with the objective of taking 10 photos on your film walk and see what happens. All these photos, once again, are developed and scanned at home since there's no lab in town, but you will notice that these are incredibly sharp and incredibly detailed photos for just how small of a camera and lens this is. I think that's the most appealing thing about the Olympus XA2 is that it really does fit in your pocket and you can take it to go anywhere. For me, I might be out in the mountains ski touring, or I might be camping in the summer. Maybe I'm hopping on a plane and want to keep the weight low. There's no excuse to not take it along. It fits in the palm of your hand and it packs a serious punch in terms of quality. If you're looking at picking up an XA2, you might be doing some research trying to compare it to the XA. XA was released a year before, and its main differentiator is that it has a rangefinder focus system, meaning that you have to look through the viewfinder and manually focus each time. And the lens on the Olympus XA actually steps down to f2.8 versus f3.5 on the XA2, meaning that you'll be able to let more light into the film and expose your image. And on top of that, you're also able to select your aperture and use it as an aperture priority camera in the Olympus XA, which gives you more kind of creative freedom for your images. So for me, the XA's features are probably geared towards more advanced users, someone that wants to manually focus, someone that actually would know what an aperture setting would do, versus the XA2, which is a lot more user-friendly. And I'm not saying one's better over the other. It really depends on the type of photographer and your desire or your lack of desire to learn more about it. It's totally okay just to have a camera that you don't have to think about that suits your needs. One drawback I would say with the more advanced features of the XA is that you're really more reliant on micro adjustments with your fingers. And this thing is already an extremely small camera, but either way you can produce phenomenal images from these cameras. I would not be concerned about quality, which one delivers the best quality, which one is the slightly sharper lens. Both of these produce amazing images, and to me it's really just about the adjustments and the settings on either one, geared towards different users. If you're just starting out, I really don't think you can go wrong by picking up an XA2. You can always upgrade to the more expensive XA later, but the most important thing is to get out there and start shooting and start familiarizing yourself with photography in general. People can get caught up in gear, but you can always start low and upgrade at a later time. Maybe you shoot with the XA2 and you want to upgrade to an SLR instead of the XA. And maybe you decide the XA is actually an upgrade to the XA2. Well, later on down the line, once you've put rolls through the XA2 and pushed that beyond its abilities, at that point, why not consider the XA? But don't get too caught up in the gear antics. It'll all kind of make sense as you get more experience. So yeah, that just about wraps up the video. My thoughts and review on the XA2. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear if you've owned an XA2 or if you've owned an XA. Which one do you prefer? Do you actually still have those cameras? Maybe you've upgraded to a completely different system. Let me know. I reply to everyone. I make that my goal when I go to bed at night. And you can always follow my work on Instagram at Vidricaire and just reach out to me directly there. All right, enough plugs. That's it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.